Good morning, traders and investors around the world, and welcome to Tuesday's edition of premarketinfo.com, where we prepare you for the most important hour of the day, the first hour. Dennis is a little bit under the weather today, so I'll be flying solo today. Getting right into the markets, the S&P mini contract hit an overnight high of 1352. Bumping up against yesterday's high at 1352 and a quarter, as well as last week's high at 1352.75. So we have a great number on the upside today, folks. If that 1352 holds as the high of the day, we have a downside target of 1338 and a quarter. The current overnight low stands at 1343.75. That's 1 point above Monday's low. Good support in that area down to Monday's low. If that 1343.75 holds as the low of the day, we have an upside target of 1350.750. Right now, currently trading on mid-range on the day, and need to get back over that close at 1349 to make a run at the overnight high. Moving on to the Big Ten, starting with ExxonMobil, was able to close yesterday at 84.40, currently trading unchanged pretty much in the pre-market. Resistance stands at Monday's high at 84.60. Could get a test of that early in the session. Above that number, a little bit of resistance at 85, but we'd be more looking for 85.69 on the upside. Coming back down for support, Friday's close and Monday's low was right at the 83.80 to 83.90 area. Look for a test of that if we get a sell-off in the morning. Moving on to our next component, Apple Computer finally took out the $500 level yesterday. Traded as high as 507 in the pre-market. Hard to give you numbers in Apple, but let's use that 507 as a temporary resistance. Currently trading at 504 and a quarter. So let's use yesterday's high again, the former all-time high at 503.83 as support, all the way down to the close at 502.60. For those of you short at 500, the pain continues. Moving on to our next component, IBM, still meandering between the 191.5 level up to 194.5. Really can't make a move towards that all-time high. We've been talking about that 194 level on several occasions. Yesterday, it could only get up to 193.69. That's a $1.30 away from here, so that will be our first resistance point. And these lows are just accumulating here, folks, in the low to mid 191s. So support will be moving up from that 190 area to 191.28, which was last week's low. Our next component, Chevron Corporation, closed the day at 106.38, right off the high of the day, which is 106.53. Currently trading up 9 cents in the pre-market, so we will be opening up into resistance this morning. Above that level, you'll find the weekly high there at 107.5. Don't see much stopping it if we can get it back and hold the 106.50 level. Coming back on the downside, Monday's low was just a few cents below Friday's close, so good support will be at that 105.45 area. Looking at the pre-market activity in Chevron Corporation, really have had a few spotty trades, 100-lot trades, but any decent trade has not been over 106.60. So keep an eye on yesterday's high for Chevron Corporation. Moving on to Mr. Softy, currently trading down in the pre-market. We've had a few trades as low as 30.37 in Microsoft. The stock bumped up against that major resistance we had. We were looking at the double top at 30.80 from Thursday and Friday, also the weekly high. Yesterday got close to that level, but stopped at 30.77. Peeled back to close at 30.58. Even though we are trading below Monday's low, 30.43, we're opening right into Friday's low at 30.36. So opening into mild support here for Microsoft. If it can't get a quick test, a quick bounce off this area in the morning, perhaps we can be meandering back down to the $30 level. Moving on to our next component, General Electric. What else can we say except it's trading at 19 bucks. We can tune the show in 2 weeks. It'll still be trading at 19 bucks. The close and the high were right there. 1907 was the close. 1908 is the high. Expect resistance up in that area. Monday's low at 1890. I'll have mild support there. If this thing goes into any kind of a sell-off mode, 1877 was low on Friday, was also last week's low. Moving on to some of our defensive stocks here, Procter & Gamble, currently pretty much unchanged in the market. Gapped up a little bit yesterday, made a high at 64.38. Had a real tight range in this stock yesterday, only 32 cents. Let's just call that whole $64 area as support. 64.06 was Monday's low. A little gap down to Friday's high at 63.98. Expect resistance at yesterday's high, 64.38. A little bit more at the old half level, 64.5. But the major resistance for Procter & Gamble stands at 64.97. Our next component, AT&T, currently trading down 3 cents in the market. Just like the GE number 19, T's been hugging this $30 level. Topped out yesterday at 30.12. Keep an eye on this 30.12 level, which was yesterday's high, all the way up to 30.15. That was a double top from last week, which turned out to be the weekly high. Perhaps we get above this 30.15 level, make a little run at the 16-day high at 30.56. Coming back on the downside, minor support at Monday's low, 29.91. But the better support comes in at the weekly low and the Friday low at 29.69 to 70. J&J, tight range in that stock as well yesterday. Currently still in that pattern of trading between the low 64s and just a tad above 66, which has been holding now since mid-December. Closed at 64.68, quite a bit off the high at 64.95. So let's call that 64.95 to 65 level as minor resistance. Have a real good number above that for you folks. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays highs on the 65.35 to 39 area. Support moved up from the weekly low, which was 62.25, up to 64.60. Can't really look for a significant breakdown of J&J until we close below that 64.25, at least a few times. And moving on to our final component in the Big Ten, Pfizer Corporation was the beneficiary of the old favorable Barron's article. Yesterday I did see some news related to some new drugs they're having coming out. That stock gapped up higher. I was able to make a high at 21.43, sell back to close at 21.30. I expect resistance all the way up from 21.43 to 21.50 to see if there could be any kind of a carryover from yesterday's rally. Coming back on the downside, you did have a gap up between Friday's high, 21.06, to Monday's low at 21.13. So that will be major support for Pfizer Corporation. Just taking a quick look again here at the S&Ps, flirted with the unchanged level, currently trading down a couple bucks here, and some nice volatility here in this 13.45 to 13.49 range. Once again, we are keeping an eye on a potential triple top here to 1352 up to 1352.75 level. Well, with a little bit less to go than an hour to the opening bell, we're going to take a quick break here, and I'll be back with your market movers.